Back again, people. Welcome back to the channel. And today is the first video reacting to Iraola's first press conference. This season, I've decided that I'm going to do the manager's press conference reaction videos. So I'm going to add that to the match reviews and match previews that I've been doing for this channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, also like the video, and let's go. So Iraola did his first conference today in the morning. I think it was around 8 a.m. time in the UK, and I have the full manuscript for you, and that is what I'm going to react to. I'm going to be reading it to you. But the first thing that I wanted to highlight is that compared to what Arne Slot had during his first press conference, this time we did not have Richard Hughes sat beside him at the press conference. And I think the easiest explanation that I could think of is the fact that Richard Hughes was also coming in very new. He was also new to the club, and therefore they thought it might be appropriate for him to also introduce himself to the fans. But after that, we didn't really hear much from Richard Hughes again until the round table when things were not really going well last season. So this time it was only Iraola who received questions and also provided answers to the questions from journalists. So the first question that was posed to Iraola was that, what message have you got for the fans about what they can expect from you, the style of play, and what you are hoping to produce at Liverpool? So the manager, Iraola, responded, "It's a great question for the first one. I would like to give them a team that they can feel proud of. I think football, and especially Liverpool for me, is about connecting with the people, connecting with our supporters. I've been in the other side at Anfield. I've experienced. I always say the goal that Chiesa scored in the first game of the past season, where you can feel the stadium. And I would love to have this every game we play. And it has to come from us, from inside the pitch. And we have to be a team that works hard, intense, aggressive, vertical, so everyone can be identified. Everyone can feel comfortable supporting this team." So Iraola gives a very interesting response. I think here what he just wants to do is that he wants to get the supporters on side and promise that he's going to produce a brand of football that supporters will be happy to get behind. The manager was also asked, in terms of that is in terms of the style of play and the brand of football, what do you feel the squad needs in terms of reinforcements? And Iraola says, obviously we've signed 2 players already, but we need more players. We know this. The club is working on this. Me as a coach, selfishly, you want the players here day one, ready to train from the preseason. But we understand that football doesn't work like this. I know the club is working hard to get those signings, and I'm trying, obviously, to help also. So I think a lot of people have misinterpreted this as putting pressure on Richard Hughes or trying to demand more signings. I think the only thing to take here is that the club is looking to make signings this summer. And it's obvious. Everybody knows that. And what he's saying is that he would have preferred to have them very early on, but we all know the reasons why this hasn't been the case, which is the World Cup. So he believes and he knows that the club is working on signings, and that is for sure. They are going to come in, but he would have preferred them on day one. And he says selfishly, he used the word selfishly, and that is a sensible thing to say, because as a coach, that is what you want, but you also know the reality is that you are not going to get everything you want on day one. So you just have to live with it. And I think I do agree with that response. So the next question goes on to say, and just to gauge where the current group is at, what conversations have you had? I'm thinking, have you spoken to Arne Slot about what happened last season? Also the likes of Virgil van Dijk, the likes of Alisson Becker as well. Have you spoken to them, because they are 2 players? as well with just 12 months left on their contract? It's a bit of a weird question, this one, because I don't really know why journalists want to know whether he's spoken to Anna Slot. It is not like when Slot came in, where Klopp decided to leave on his own and Slot was brought in. In this case, the manager was sacked. So contacting the manager who has been sacked from a club to get information on the status of the squad, I'm not really sure it is something that normally happens. But and you could see it in the response from Andoni Iraola that he made no mention of Slot. He said he has contacted some of the players. He spoke to them after they were eliminated from the World Cup, but he didn't mention Slot. So what I take from this is that he hasn't spoken to Slot. So this is the response. Yes, I've spoken especially with all the players that have been in the World Cup, especially the ones that have already been eliminated and are enjoying their holidays. I didn't want to disturb them or bother them while the World Cup was ongoing. But I think I've had very good conversations. I'm also using these couple of weeks I've had before we start properly the first team trainings to talk with a lot of people that work every day here. And those are the ones that are helping me create, I think, a good environment so our players can perform. And let's say we can maximize their ability. So he's had conversations, but with different people, players, staff at the training grounds, but not Slot. So that is the main takeaway from this response. The next question goes on to ask, do you understand what it means to be Liverpool manager? You say you've spoken to people around the club about it, but do you understand what the job means? So he goes on to answer by saying that, yeah, I want to think I understand. Probably until you are not here and until I don't go through certain experiences, I will not fully know. So I think here he's trying to say that even though he understands, you get a better understanding as you go on in the job. So as you begin working in the job, you keep having different experiences, you tend to learn more. So even though he understands, he still has quite a lot to learn. So he continues by saying, but I'm here to experience those situations. I'm ready for it. I understand this is a massive club. Everything that I'm going to say now is going to go to big scrutiny. You have to be very aware of the mistakes. But I wouldn't like also to be too careful. I would like to act quite normal. I'm not going to live in my bubble, just training ground, home. I would also like to go to the city, experience the city. I know some places I will have to take some pictures, but it's part also of the magic of being the Liverpool manager. And I would not like to change too much. So here you can see Andoni Iraola is trying to make it very clear that he's going to be himself. And being himself means going out into the city, trying to immerse himself, having conversations with people, taking pictures, and all that. He also understands that whatever he says, whether big or small, whether he meant it or he was just joking, would be blown out of proportion, both in the negative sense and also positively. So he knows that these things are things that would come his way, but he doesn't want to be too careful. He doesn't want to pretend or try to do things in a diplomatic way. He wants to be himself, and I think that is a good approach to take as a new Liverpool manager. Next question. The next question asks Andoni Iraola. You spoke about talking to some of the players. What's your assessment of the squad you have inherited? And have you had a chance to look at last season and where things didn't go right for you? He goes on to answer this saying, yes, obviously I talked to the players. I talked to the staff. I talked about the things that were working very well, things that we think we can do differently. I wouldn't say better, differently. I think it's different. I have the advantage that probably players already know what we are going to demand in terms of style of play, but we will have time to know each other. One thing is to know a player, to talk to a player, to ask him, okay, where do you feel more comfortable in this position, in this other one? Where do you see yourself? Because I'm asking the players this question so I can understand them. But after I will see them train, I will make some tests during preseason, I will feel things, and then I will take decisions from there. So clearly, he has a way, he has a clear strategy for getting to know his players. Knowing players from afar is different from working with them day in and day out. And I think that is what he's trying to highlight here. That working with the players will give him a lot more information than what he knows. Also, he understands that the players know him from afar. They've seen the work that he's done at Bournemouth, and therefore they would have some sort of knowledge about what to expect, what they will be expected to be able to do under him and Andoni Iraola. The next questions says that you are obviously a new manager working with new players. Some of those players are going to come back later than others because of the World Cup. How much does that make your job more difficult? So he answers this by saying that I think it is what it is. We cannot change it. I think players deserve a break. The ones that have been in the World Cup deserve at least 3 weeks so they can enjoy their time with friends, family, thinking about other things. Even physically, some of them need a rest after a very busy season. I'm looking at the positives almost because I've had now 1 week to see every training of the under 21s. So the fact that he doesn't have the first team all ready to go from July 1 has given him the opportunity to see the under 21s. So he could have an idea of who to bring in from the under 21s, I think. So this is a positive that we can take from players not being available right at the start of July. We've had some of the players from the first team willing to come a little bit before, so they are already in a better shape to start. Already today, that they didn't have to come. I've seen 2 or 3 that I haven't seen before, that they are already here, ready for the testing tomorrow. So officially, preseason starts tomorrow, Tuesday, July 14th. But some of the players are already in, and I think he's referring to Jeremy Jacquet, players like Harvey Elliott, players that we've seen pictures of at the training grounds. So these are players who want to get in early and start working before training officially starts. The rest, they would have to join later on because of the World Cup. They need that 3 weeks break before they join the team. Iraola goes on to say that, so I think this progressive introduction also will allow me maybe to get more in touch with every player, and also will give especially the young players, some players that have been on loan, more minutes during preseason. The first part of preseason, basically, it is going to be with a lot of players from the academy, players that in another situation maybe I wouldn't know as well, and now I will have the chance to get to know them personally, training every day with them in some friendlies, and it's going to be good information for me. The next question was about Harvey Elliott, and I think the manager do recognize the situation that Elliott is in, and from his answer, it kind of shows that he's willing to give Elliott another opportunity to show what he can do. So the question asks, Harvey Elliott has returned. He had a strange season for him last season. It didn't turn out how many anticipated. Do you see a situation where Harvey Elliott's future is now at Liverpool again? Definitely, he answers. Harvey is here with us. He has come also. I have seen him with this eagerness of showing himself, getting himself ready again. He will have a chance during the preseason. So, of course, he's willing to give Harvey Elliott another chance. Iraola goes on to say that we will need him, and it's a good sign he came 1 week earlier. He's been training with the under 21s, and I hope we can see him in a good place. I think Harvey comes from dash, especially last season had to be very difficult for him because it was a strange situation. So I think he was saying, I think Harvey comes from loan at Aston Villa. I think that was what he was going to say, but he jumped onto a different thing. He didn't really complete the sentence. So he goes on to say, especially last season had to be very difficult for him because it was a strange situation where basically they couldn't even put him to play. I think he uses this, what he has experienced, the bad situation he has experienced, to make him even more eager to be a Liverpool player. Yes. So he's trying to say that he thinks Harvey Elliott is going to use the bad situation Harvey Elliott found himself in on loan at Aston Villa as fuel to even go a step higher, play better, and hopefully stay in this Liverpool team in the coming season. The next question asks, you mentioned the scrutiny that comes with being at Liverpool. Can you be the same coach as you always have been, or do you have to change now? I think this question he has already answered it, but um, journalists always want to find a different way of asking you the same question. So he goes on to say, I will try to be the same coach. I understand that I will maybe make mistakes here to the media. So in his press conferences, post-match reactions and all that, which is of course normal. We expect that coaches, even the experienced ones, do make mistakes. They say things that they probably shouldn't say. And maybe sometimes they give too much information to the media. So yeah, he's aware that mistakes are going to occur. I will say things that I shouldn't, but you cannot be all the same thinking sadly. Don't tell this. I think you have to be yourself. You have to be yourself, and I'll try to be. So he wouldn't be too careful, basically. That's what he's saying. Obviously, I cannot say everything here to you. There are some things that you have to keep private, but especially with the players. I know that we will have big personalities, big egos, but I will try not to change with them also. Yes. So the next question says that, just following on from that, in terms of your character, your personality, what can fans expect from you? What kind of personality or character would you say that you have as a coach? And the manager goes on to say that is the most difficult question, probably. No. Try to describe yourself. I don't like to do this at all. I also don't like to do that at all. Describe myself. I don't know why. But I think you have the advantage that you've already seen me 3 years at least in the Premier League. I think everyone some of them will know me better. The others, maybe they didn't know me. But the people involved in football, more or less, will know what we are going to try to do. Obviously, I understand that this is Liverpool. We have to change some things. We have to change a little bit, even tactically, even on the pitch. But if they sign me, it's because they want a lot of things that I was doing before in other clubs. So I wouldn't like to change in the pitch, the DNA of what has been my teams and also outside. How I'm going to answer your questions, how I'm going to relate to the supporters. I will try to be as natural as possible. And I hope it doesn't change me a lot. hopefully, but I guarantee you, Andoni, that Liverpool is going to change you. It is going to change you. Whether for better or for worse, we live to see. But Liverpool is going to change you. It is too big not to have any impact on the people that work there. So I'm very sure that there's going to be a few things that you'll do differently after your time at Liverpool. Okay, the next question says there has been a lot of change at the club this summer. So, what are your expectations for next season? Do you feel it might be a season of transition, or can Liverpool challenge for Anis? Andoni goes on to answer the question saying, I think we have to accept there are difficult situations right now in terms of, I would say, both sides. A lot of senior players leaving, very important players that have achieved almost everything here in the club, and also some of the very important players who are injured. We haven't started training and we already have, especially in the case of Hugo Ekitike, Conor Bradley, Giovanni Leone, long injuries. So in terms of also improving the team, we have to consider that we have to replace very important players that were making very good numbers. And also we have the situation with especially those three big injuries that are going to miss some time, that we also have to find a way to replace. I really like the way he puts this answer, a way to replace. So he doesn't necessarily mention in this answer that we need to bring in transfers to replace these players. He says we need to find a way to replace, and that could be with switching the positions of the existing squad or bringing in players from the academy. So we live to see. We don't know exactly how we are going to replace these players, because to some extent replacing these players are temporary. They are not players who are leaving the club. So if you want to bring in new signings, then what is going to happen if these players return from their injury? So there has to be some sort of balance in the solution. Some are permanent solutions in the form of bringing in new signings, and some temporary solutions in the form of switching the position of certain players and also bedding in some talent from the academy. So he says that we know that these three players, for example, I love them. They are the long-term solutions, I'm sure. You know about Connor, about Giovanni, about Hugo, but there is going to be, especially in Hugo's case, a period where we will be without them and we have to try to find solutions. So the solutions here is not only bringing in new signings, but finding different ways, tactically changing the shape of the team, and also maybe bringing in some young lads from the academy. Okay, so the next question says, how important are your core coaching principles, such as playing vertically and attacking with speed? Now you are here. Yes, I think they have to be our core principles. After, we will have a lot of games, a lot of questions that you ask me about. What if you face low blocks and this kind of thing? And this is one question that I posed immediately Andoni Iraola was appointed, saying that he doesn't face low blocks at Bournemouth and at Liverpool. That is going to be the order of the day. Every single week, you are going to face low blocks. And how do you go around that? I always say I prefer to face low blocks in terms of, okay, we will be in control of the game. Probably we will concede less chances. We will spend a lot of time in the opposition half. And those are the scenarios that we have to find. Some teams, they give you straight away that situation. Perfect. Other teams, they don't give it straight away because they will try also to control the game, to play in your half. I'm looking forward to spending as much time as we can in the opposition half with the ball, without the ball, because I feel we are closer to scoring than the opposition if that is the situation. Okay. It is easier said than done. That is what I'm going to say here. And I rest my case here. We'll see as the season goes on. Next question. It has been reported that you have signed a 2-year contract here, and that length of deal has been your preference throughout your career. Why is that the case? So this is an obvious question. I think we heard a lot about it once he signed, that this is what he prefers, and he's spoken about it and explained it at other clubs. And here it was an opportunity for him to tell Liverpool fans why he wants to sign a 2-year deal, because some people feel uncomfortable with a Liverpool manager signing such a short contract, because it might be an indication that he is not very committed to the cause of Liverpool, and some people tend to be quite worried about that. So this is an opportunity for Andoni Iraola to clear the air, and he goes on to say, 2-year deals. I always say, in terms of coaching, contracts don't matter a lot. I don't want to be in a place because I have a contract, because we are not sure, but you have a contract, so we stay. No, it's like, okay, I think I signed 2 years, but it's basically year to year. When you are a coach, we've seen a lot of managers, they have long contract, and because the club doesn't want, because they don't want, because in the end When you are a player, it is very important. I think the contract is very important. But when you are a manager, it is not. Don't worry. I hope I can stay here 2 years. No, a lot more years. It would mean that I've done a very good job. But I feel we have to earn that. Managers, we have to earn every year the right to continue, especially in clubs like Liverpool. But I do it everywhere. I've done it always like this. Yes. Okay, so the last question that ends the press conference um, was that how are you planning to manage the extra workload and games Liverpool have during a season? So I think this question was asked by Mo Stewart. I listen to him a lot on YouTube, his channel, and also on the Late Challenge podcast. And I really enjoy the kind of questions that he asks. He is one of the most sensible journalists who asks very good questions at press conferences. So Mo Stewart, keep going. I really enjoy listening to you. How are you planning to manage the extra workload and games Liverpool have during a season in terms of the aggressive style of play you want to implement? How important is the size of your squad in being able to manage that? So he goes on to say, yes, I think it's a big challenge for me. I think it's a big challenge because here most of the weeks are not going to be clean in terms of we will have a midweek game. I think it is also a great opportunity for the players because I always loved to have these kind of seasons as a player. You basically don't train a lot, you play, recover, play, recover. I think there is a chance to use more players also because it's impossible to deal with this kind of season with 13, 14, 15 players. You need all the squad. And there are positives on this, but also we have to get ready because in this kind of hard season, a lot of games, injuries will happen, situations will happen. So we have to get ready in terms of squad depth so we can deal with the demands of the competition and we can go through those months, especially here in England, December, January, February. You know those months are really hard and we have to arrive to those months in a situation where we can deal with them. Yes. So yeah, he is going to utilize the full extent of Liverpool squad. And I think that is one thing that Slot didn't do very well. And I hope that Andoni Iraola would be able to find the magic solution to this. Currently, the number of players we have in the first team are just not enough to take us through the season. Hopefully, we get some new signings, and then the manager can also bed in some young talents from the academy. So that is all from me for now. Thank you for watching the reaction to the manager's first press conference. I'll catch you later on. You never walk alone.